Well, good morning, friends. It's 9:45 in the AM, and you know what that means? It's time for Java with Jen, 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 Java with Jen. Sometime I'm going to actually record a jingle or ask somebody else to do it. If you didn't already figure it out, my name's Jen Koch, and that is, and I'm your favorite. Yes, I said it. Favorite executive leadership coach. And every Wednesday morning, I come on live at 9:45 a.m. to talk about all kinds of topics around leadership. Sometimes I have guests. Sometimes I'm here by myself. Sometimes there are topics that have been rattling around my old noggin, things I've been talking to clients about, or sometimes you all ask me to talk about a topic. And today I want to talk about a specific topic. And the question is that I get all the time: can you overcome imposter syndrome? I've got like a piece of cat hair in my eye. Can you overcome imposter syndrome? That's the question. Can you? No. Want the easy answer? No, 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 and no, and no, and no, and no. If you Google how to overcome imposter syndrome, 3.3 million hits as of, I don't know, January. I'm sure if you Google it now, there's a lot more. You won't ever be able to overcome it. Now, you may say, well, wait a minute, Jen, all these coaches are talking to me about how to overcome it. They're actually not teaching you how to overcome it. They're teaching you, they're giving you tips, tools, and tricks of how to manage your mind and how to manage the automatic thoughts that come into your head when asked to put yourself out there, or when you think about putting yourself out there, right? The moment that you, so this all came about because yesterday I was having a chat with a colleague, and she was so excited to share with me about her new book. And she said, this is my legacy. I'm so excited. Will you be part of my launch team? Of course, I said anything I can do, because I really, really vibe with her. I think she's amazing. She works with the same kind of people I do, which is women, like midlife, 50s and above, executives, others. But she really looks at things from a spiritual perspective and an energy perspective and a chakra perspective. And she's sharing with me, she's written 2 other books. This is her third. It was a labor of love. This is really her legacy. And in the same breath, she says, but I'm not a writer. My eyebrow. Did you see that? I can only do one. I can only do that one. I can't do that one. I can only do that one. I raised my eyebrow, but I waited till she was done talking. And I said, I'm not going to say her name. I have one request. Can you never say I'm not a writer again? You've just written your 3rd book. You are a writer after your 1st book. And she laughed. She goes, yeah, you got me. You caught me. But this is how insidious what we labeled imposter syndrome is. It sneaks in, right? Because what is happening in that moment, it is an amygdala hijack. The moment we think about stretching ourselves, the moment we feel put on the spot, the moment somebody else calls us out on something, the moment we think about going for the promotion, speaking up in a meeting, our boss calls on us to speak up in the meeting, the board member asks the question, that moment, the heart starts beating quickly, our palms start sweating, because in that moment, the brain is going, whoa, danger, Will Robinson. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. For anybody that's not a Gen Xer like me or a boomer like me, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's okay. It's a show. So danger, Will Robinson. The brain is trying to keep you safe. That is normal. And the brain's immediately going to go into safety mode and help you, the thing it's a brain of, figure out, okay, how do I navigate this? If I take this chance, what's the worst? What if this happens? What if this happens? It goes through every scenario, because its job is to keep you safe. Except, as I've said before, it used to be physical safety. Now it's psychological safety. So that is an automatic response, because why? Because you're a human being. All right. So can you overcome imposter syndrome? No, because you've got a brain that's going to react in stressful situations, or situations that seem dangerous but aren't really, because there's not a bus coming at you or someone coming at you with a knife. But at the same time, it feels the same way as somebody asking you to speak up in that meeting, or you think about going, putting your book out there, or giving that first keynote. I'll never forget the first time I gave my first keynote. I felt like I was going to puke. And I memorized that thing. I did it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And finally, I was stressing myself out so bad. I was so nervous. And then when it was my time to go up, I'm like, all right, it's time to wail. Like I'll either nail it or I won't. And what's the worst that can happen? And that's the thing we want to ask ourselves. What's the worst that can happen if you go for the promotion? You won't get it. What's the worst that can happen if you speak up? Somebody doesn't like what you have to say. So what? They can get happy in the same pants they're sad in. So, can you overcome imposter syndrome? The easy answer is no. There is only one time you will, quote unquote, overcome it, like it will go away, is when you're dead, because we don't have a brain. Our brain isn't working anymore and our brain's not reacting. So, the question for me always is, what is the most powerful way to, because we really can't, well, gosh, it's such a longer video, but I don't want to go into all of it. But we can't really manage the mind the way you think we can. I mean, think about it. When you are at the effect of imposter syndrome, uh, in that moment, do you have the wherewithal and the logic to be able to deal with it? I don't know. Most of us don't. So, how do you learn to interrupt it? Well, I think a couple things. And this is how the work that I do with people on imposter syndrome is vastly different than the other coaches and programs that I've seen out there. We work together to get to the root brain pattern where your version of imposter syndrome started. And it's usually a really innocuous event, like, you were walking with your friends to the ice cream store and two people didn't have money and you offered to pay. And your fourth friend said, oh, there she goes again, helpful Hannah. This is a real story from a client. And in that moment, as a 12-year-old, you're like, oh, that didn't feel good. And you decide, I'm never going to offer help again. I'm just not, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take care of me. Well, that's difficult to be in that spot to just take care of yourself when you want to get to the C-suite and rise in upper management, because your job is to manage others. So, and that's just one example. Okay. So I take people through a guided meditation. It's very brief, very short. And then from there, we start to notice gut. What are the gut feelings you have when this is happening? Heart. What are the emotions? And then we get to the mind. What are the thoughts that you're having? So that you can begin to see that stuff in action, metacognition. So you can begin to witness or observe your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your moods, and know when imposter syndrome is about to be triggered. And then you're present. And when you're present, you have presence of mind to choose a different way to be in that moment. And that's what I call my power code. That's a framework that I teach people, and that I've been mastering that my whole life. There's never even a moment where I'm not practicing that, you know? So the easy answer is no, you're never going to overcome imposter syndrome, but you want to be able to get to the root of it. You want to be able to identify the early warning signs and the red flags and choose a new way to show up as the leader you truly are. Okay. That's the short answer. Now, a few more things about that. And I keep knocking my microphone, so sorry if it's getting a little noisy. In September, I have a small group cohort of 6 people. 3 seats are filled. I've got 3 seats left. It's $500. It's 3 sessions with me. We're going to do this work together. In between, you're going to get coaching from me. And what I have found when I work in these small groups this way, people begin to recognize they are not alone, and they recognize themselves and others. And guess what? They then have, at that first session, when one of my clients sees that brain pattern, we're off to the races. We got a chance then to be choiceful, to be present, and to choose powerfully how we want to show up as a leader. And that, for me, is what the game of leadership is all about. Not being like mastering how to not take things personally, not react. How do you do that? Noticing all that, feelings, moods, feelings, thoughts, moods, feelings, emotions, thoughts. Thoughts are always the last one. And then ongoingly practicing choosing a more powerful way to show up, a way that expresses who we truly are, a way that we feel confident in ourselves. So, by the way, in the what's it called, in the comments, yeah, I'm going to put a link to that course in case you want to take it, or you know somebody that does. Like I said, half the seats are filled. Then over the next couple of weeks, I'm actually on vacation because somebody's turning 60. Ooh, that would be me. And so I'm going to be posting a couple of other videos about imposter syndrome. So, because sometimes it takes me explaining it in a couple of different ways. So, I'm going to be posting those as well for your enjoyment. And then I'll be back at you live September 4th, I think is the next Wednesday. That's live September 4th. Okay. All right, y'all. This has been Java with Jen. Java with Jen. Hope you got something out of it. Have a great day. Go have some Java for yourself. And until I see you live again September 4th, ciao, ciao for now. Go be great because you already are. Just express yourself. Okay. And in between now and September 4th, I'll be